What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and today on my channel we are going to be discussing Vampire the Masquerade. This game is in desperate need of some TLC, but also I love the way it is because it's charming. There's a lot of substance to this game, both in the story and in the history of what the Vampire the Masquerade game represents. Vampire the Masquerade TTRPG came out actually just a year before I was born in 1991. First a tabletop RPG, and then it became a video game in 2004 with the critically acclaimed Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Bloodlines 2 was set to release a few years ago, but because a switch in development, I believe, don't quote me on that, is the reason why it has not come out yet. The main company that was supposed to develop the game, for some reason, stopped. I have no idea why, but they switched development companies right in the middle of the production of the game, and then they were unable to get it out in the time allotted for it. I believe there are actually still pre-orders up for the game on Steam and Amazon. Did I create this video just to fangirl over Vampire the Masquerade? Probably. But I also want to show you guys how iconic this game is and what it really means as a whole for the gaming industry. This game represents possibilities. It represents the way in which developers, writers, producers can create. And I truly feel like we can get back to what this game is. I'm not talking about the graphics. I'm not talking about being able to break walls, literally, if you just tumble hard enough. I'm talking about the fact of it being so seamless with its story, how the continuity and the flow, everything was just there. I see so many games that have taken inspiration from Vampire the Masquerade, including but not limited to Cyberpunk 2077. When you get to the bar scene in Cyberpunk 2077, it has that purplish blue kind of hazy look that it is quite similar to in that of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I feel like a lot of games after 2004 took inspiration from Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines because it had such an iconic look to it. The look of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines was so iconic in the way that it looked, the way that it felt, the way the atmosphere was. When you get to a certain point of the game, the atmosphere is just chef's kiss. There's so many positive things to be said about Vampire the Masquerade, and I feel like the negative ones are something of that where it's the graphics, it's the controls, all of the things that back in the day, that's just how it was. So I feel like criticizing that isn't even worthwhile doing. It's not even worth it to criticize any of the controls or any of the mechanics or even how it looked, because that's just how it was back in the day, and you have to take a game for what it is at the time it was created. This is the beginning of a renaissance in the gaming industry. I believe that when this game came out, it truly changed the way that we view games, the way that we view storytelling in games. And that's actually, it happened first with Resident Evil 1 Remake back in 2002, but this one brought it on even more so because we saw characters that you could interact with in a way that we never saw that before. Yes, we saw very powerful interaction with characters back in 2002's Resident Evil 1 Remake, but not in this way. Not in this way at all whatsoever. You have very, very edgy arguments. You had edgy connections with characters and things that actually spooked the player. Things and storylines, motifs, and different aspects that would bring about a new light to gaming. You had to keep the masquerade. You had to understand that your actions, they had consequences. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't get a permadeath whenever you don't keep the masquerade in this game, but after you lose 3 masks, you revert back to the last mask that you broke, if that makes sense. There are so many different ways that you can play Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but first you have to choose your clan. There are many different clans in Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not going to go over them because it would take literally the entire video for me to go into each clan itself. Now, I will say this as a side note because this is something that made me in particular very happy, was the thorough research done for the Nosferatu. I wrote my psychological thesis in college on vampires and the psychology of the history behind them. So to see the inclusion of these characters done in a correct way was really amazing. The Nosferatu and vampires that have had different names besides Nosferatu have been a theme across history, across time. They have been a reoccurring theme in history for decades. And to see that this character has been utilized not in a cringy or a cheesy way like the way we see in movies or in television, it was really breathtaking to see, because this was a game that came out in 2004. You have to, if you're playing it nowadays, you have to get past the bugs, you have to get past the cringiness, you have to get past the way that some of the graphics look. There's actually a modification that you can put on the game where it makes it look less 2004 to say the least. So who knows, I might actually stream some Vampire the Masquerade. I really love the game, and I really love how much it's brought to my life as a gamer. Like, I go back to that game sometimes to just relax. It's just a very chill, very story heavy game. That's the best way I can describe Vampire the Masquerade, is a very story heavy game. There's so much to Vampire the Masquerade, not just the game, but the tabletop RPG, the books, the way that there are different like novel type style games that are out on Steam right now. There is so much Vampire the Masquerade goodies that are out currently. There is LA by Night, and I believe there's New York by Night, but correct me down in the comments if that's wrong, because I do believe that they had a series that was in New York. But just remember, always keep the Masquerade and you'll be fine. But you guys, if you all like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every day here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, your hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Umbasa.